Robert Ngalomba, Mihail Wilmore, and Sheila Birgen from MLab Kenya. Please, a round of applause as they come on stage.
So I just kind of want to open the floor on history and what you guys think is the current ecosystem here to build upon smart solutions.
Oh, thank you. I think we all know we have to follow what the world trend now is. And this is, in one way or another, we should be involved with IoT. It's basically two words. It's internet and things. So we all know what internet is. We all know what the things are. We need to get them to do what we want them to do. How do we do this? I think this is the main question to innovator in this country. I'll be talking from my own experience working in Tanzania and Africa for the past 10 years in development sector. I have a computer science background, but mostly I've been working with doctors and public health practitioners. So some of the ideas, they are not very known in the other side of the coin. What I want you guys to look at is how you can be realistic in addressing challenges from where you are. Not waiting solutions that comes from other places, then we try to adopt, then we find maybe they're not working. I'll cite two examples that among many that I came across with. I worked in the HIV/AIDS program right here in Tanzania, and now they developed issue, apart from many successes, they had issues with the loss to follow-up. For those who are coming from that area, they could understand. The issue is you sensitize people coming from their home states, they come to do the testing, and then they don't come to take the results. For those who are staying in Dar es Salaam or in cities, they find it's very easy because the hospitals or the facilities are just a few meters away. You have someone who was cycling 30 or 60 kilometers to the health facility. They went through the counseling. They took the samples. Now the lower level health facilities cannot do the testing. They have to ship the samples to the zonal hospital. Now, traditional, this program, how they deliver is, you have a program officer, you have a driver, that they'll have to, follow up these results. And now you have to pay the per diem for the driver and the program officer. And at the end of the day, the patient does not get the results on time. So what did we do in this project? We came, sit in a table, round table like this, then everybody was contributing to that. Then we came up with an idea of coming up with a very small SMS printer. So how was this happening? I'll just cut the story short. As soon as the results are being tested in the lab and the results are out, instead of waiting the program officer to follow the results, they could just send an SMS to the health law facility whereby the results are being printed in a very small SMS printer that uses battery, you see? So you could see it's a small connectivity of things that try to solve one particular problem. So this is just to cite one of the examples, and most of the innovators you can think around. My another personal experience is most of the innovators, you are not exposed to the challenges that are happening in the specific sectors. You could see a lot of innovation in the health sector, but technological innovation, they only come from the big countries. But I have the feeling, I've been here for 10 years, I know what in the ground, I know the resource of the youth that we have, they only need someone to guide them, they only need a proper ecosystem that will take them through, guide them through, at the end of the day we come up with a solution. So my challenge to the innovator and the entire group is we have to address things holistically, we have different backgrounds, but we have to be specific in the solution that we develop. And one of the forgotten area is the health sector. So for me, I call upon all the innovators to try to see how we can come up with a solution. There's some work going at the moment with some innovator here. We're working with Sahara Sparks, trying to develop some innovative solution on SCRH, which has never happened before. If there are any innovators around that, it might be, but we don't have a platform to share the information. And I'm talking this from the personal experience. When we tried to do the project, we tried to do the mapping of the ecosystem in Tanzania. Surprisingly, what came out of that, it was very hard to get who does what on the ground. So as you continue thinking, I think the platform like this should also have some, ways to bring the information. So if you have the investor who comes, doesn't have to wait until this conference comes, they know where to go and get those ideas. If young people, they have something to pitch, they know how they can pitch the ideas. So at the end of the day, we have the solution that address issues that are around the community. So to sum it up, I think from the personal experience, tech people, you have a very good opportunity to develop solutions that address the socioeconomic issues. And that has been, since I came to know that has been a passion that is driving me. Though I work with doctors and other people from other backgrounds, but I try to see how we can integrate technology into addressing the socioeconomic issues. Thank you.
So I agree with some of what he said about using trends, but I also disagree to some extent. I think Internet of Things is good. And the opportunities are immense in this continent. However, we do not see those opportunities. So we keep chasing things within IoT that are way far ahead of us because of infrastructure, and sometimes even funding opportunities in that, as opposed to developing solutions that would help us with the resources that we currently have. For instance, you would find that some people would want to do automation of homes in IoT in this continent. We have electricity issues to begin with. Let's just go there before we even go to having internet across homes everywhere. Why wouldn't we work with things that could then help the bigger problems that we have in education, for instance, in agriculture, for instance? Why do we always have to depend on rain to get food each year? Why can't we use data that we will collect from whatever machines we are getting from to help change that narrative? We are a young continent of young people who are also still falling into the old mentality of just thinking the same. And then we want to Google trends and say, what is the latest trend? Okay, fine. So how can we use VR? How can we develop games for VR? It's good, yes, but does it change the lives of this continent, children and people? I don't think so. So there are a lot of opportunities in that space, but if we keep being told what we should do as opposed to us seeing where the opportunities to actually change and impact the lives of the people in this continent are, then we will always keep chasing a leaf that we will never probably eat, if you will. So I think Internet of Things is great, and there are a lot of people leveraging that now. Like there are people using it for automation, for instance, of greenhouses, not homes, to make sure that they monitor the humidity in the greenhouses, the temperature, and you don't have to employ a lot of people to do that, which is reducing your costs in a way. There are people using it in health to monitor the heart rates of people and send that information to hospitals or to caregivers. There are people using it in education to help kids learn with different things. So opportunities for sure are there across sectors, but I think we just need a bit of focus in making sure that we use the resources that we have to solve the bigger problems that we have as a continent. Thanks.
So I'm always put in this position. So I usually like to talk last. I'm going to try to be nice. Okay, listen. It's good what everyone has said, but I totally disagree with all of you. Because, first of all, what is the internet? There's two industries that don't report their revenues on the internet. We know how much Facebook is worth, but we don't know how much the porn industry is worth on the internet. 85% of Tanzania's traffic using on the internet is porn, as much as it is illegal. And I'm not talking from the perspective of a user. I'm talking from the perspective of a former operator. So I know what you guys are doing on the internet. Okay? That leaves 15%, of which 10% is not productivity. It's WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So everything you're talking about is only 5%. And out of that 5%, for me to get a contract with you in the health sector, you're going to try and negotiate me down to build you an app for $10,000, which you probably got funded $1 million for. So how do you expect these kids to innovate if you're paying them lunch money? We've got the brains. There's no doubt about that. I know half of these kids in here personally. So when you say you don't see the ecosystem, I don't understand. If you're talking about infrastructure, Tanzania has the biggest fiber network in East Africa. It has 4G LTE from 2 operators, including TTCL 3. Okay? So if you're talking about connectivity, there is no one in Tanzania who cannot get onto the internet. You can buy a Technophone for 100,000 shillings where, I don't know, you can talk to Freddie, you can talk to the guys at Soma app, you can talk to Evolve, you can talk to the guys, where's Arnold Ubongo, okay? You can talk to Ferouz. They can build you whatever thing that is being built in the United States. But they can't do it for $10,000. You want this industry to grow, you want the Internet of Things, invest fairly. We're sitting in a tropical country. We're sitting in a tropical country. I was listening to the guy from the World Bank, and yes, we were talking about smart cities before JK became president. And we still are talking about smart cities today. But it's not an issue of that it can't be done. The issue is who is going to finance it. And in that process, while the decision makers and the donors are juggling and shifting, if I talk about my career started off working for the US government, for USAID. My first job was to get market information, before even SMS, market information to farmers using technology. There was a company in Senegal called Manobi. They wanted $500,000 for their platform. We could have installed the platform and been up and running in 3 months. But it took me 2 years to get the budget. And eventually, when I got the budget, Manobi was out of business because no one wanted to fund it. So this is the dilemma of the tech industry in Africa. If you ask these kids what their biggest problem is, they'll tell you it's staying alive. It's eating, having money for food, water, and paying my rent. The dream about starting up in a garage, that is very real here, except it will get funded. You will get someone funded because they know someone who knows someone who's written a World Bank proposal, who's written a USAID proposal. But that's not how it works in the US. Facebook, I don't even know what they sell. But the kid just got an honorary degree from Harvard today or yesterday or something. How many of you guys actually earned your degrees and sat in school for 5 to 6 to 7 years? And still, you write proposals this thick and you can't get $5,000 for a server. So you cannot do Internet of Things if you are not providing the fiscal support to the tech industry. You know, the other day I was talking to someone about what we're talking about, viwanda. Tunataka viwanda Tanzania, si ndio? Tunataka viwanda, sio? Any one of you stand up and tell me how many viwandas you have in your head. Each app is a kiwanda. So how many of those do you have? What you're saying, pick 2 guys randomly. I'm sure they can solve your problem and create a world-class app that will go all over the world and solve every third world country. But the issue is, who is going to give us the opportunity? The way I did it was different. I went into the market, I looked at what was needed, I got employed, I stacked up on my savings, I started an internet company, I sold the internet company, which is now known as Tigo 4G, and that's how I fund my projects. I sold the biggest asset I had. Who sells dividend spectrum? Nobody. But I was forced to, so that I can move to the next phase of my life, so I could fund other people to do what you guys are talking about. So Dr. Mshinda spoke briefly about procurement. That's one problem. But the other problem is that you've got too many people who are BC, before computer, before connectivity, who have the power of the pen. So they don't understand. So until Ferouz becomes the minister of XYZ, I don't want to say the industry, I will never have the opportunity to bring up my startups to him for them to be able to get these projects. Because other than a lot of the people who have the power, even within the donor community, look at the people in the donor communities, they're in the late stage of their careers. The guys who are in the early stage of their careers, they still don't have the pen power to say, you know what, I like you, kid. I can give you $400,000 for you to run with this project. And if it fails, so what? And that is the biggest challenge. Not whether we have connectivity or we have servers or we have brains or what we're focused on. We can write a proposal right here together. And I'll tell you, give us $5 million and we can solve all your data issues. But it will take us 5 years to get that $5 million. And that's the challenge.